I am ready. Thank you. Thank you, Jeanette and Sheldon, for holding this space and opportunity to connect and share and create a bit of a community. I really appreciate that. Um, I want to say a little bit about myself briefly and then dive into the subject, which is today's 6 steps to health. And I want to talk about them in a kind of a brief way as we only have 1 hour, and also leave a little bit space at the end for questions. So everyone who is here today and who is listening to me, please make a little note during my presentation if you have questions so we can address them afterwards if that's okay. So I'm from Belgium too, like Francis. I think we know each other for a long time. And I started with Macrobiotics in 1979. And I started because I was quite ill at that time. I was young and ill. So that has been my journey. I started with yoga, macrobiotics. And over the years, I became or started to live a conscious way of living. And as I saw that my health was improving, and I decided to dedicate my life to help other people. So I'm still doing that. I'm living here close to Ghent, together with my daughter and her 2 children. And we created a bit of a community where people can come and study. And that's what we love doing, my daughter and I. So that's what we do. I have been seeing, I think, thousands of people over the years. So as a counselor, people come to me. And today I want to share a bit of my experience. And these are those steps about I want to talk to you and share with you what I found is quite important, or what I have been seeing what is quite important to make changes in life towards health and healing on the whole. So step 1, and I want to make a little bit of a game of it if you're into that. So with each step, you can give yourself a little score, how many points you give yourself out of 10, how well you're doing with that. And the game is also a little bit of a reflection you can take away with you after the presentation. If you see, wow, this is an area that needs a little bit of attention for myself, then you can do something with that if you want to. So step 1 for me is rhythm. What I see, and especially the last 20, 30 years, is that lots of young people created the habit of living out of balance, out of touch with the rhythm of nature. And so many young people I discover who come to me do develop the habit of not having proper meals anymore. So it's like they're snacking the day away. They are eating every hour things, snacking, and don't have proper meals anymore. And I think it's very important for our body to have time to eat on a regular basis, which is like 2 or 3 times a day, according to what you need. And in between, leave that space to digest the food. It's like the stomach and the digestive system needs time to digest the food and needs a pause. And if we don't allow that pause to the body, then lots of trouble can arrive with the digestion and with our overall health. And that rhythm, I think, is very important. I'm not saying we have to live like a nun and eat like 7, 12, 6 o'clock, but I think it's important to feel it and leave at least like 5 hours in between meals so we can feel really hungry. And if you read the text of Oshawa and Micho, you will find that back how important that is as well. The other thing is with that rhythm that is important that we don't overeat. So we eat till we are full for approximately like 80%. So we don't overeat and we don't eat like late in the evening. Rhythm to me is also to respect the rhythm of nature. So if we go to bed not too late and we get up early in the morning, then we follow that day and night rhythm. I see so many youngsters who go to bed like 3 o'clock in the morning and then sleep till 1, 2 after lunch, and then the whole rhythm is disturbed. And then when they feel hungry, they go to the night shop and they start snacking and bring more snacks with them. And I think that's the first step in healing, or I think if we can call it common mistakes in living a natural way of living. So my question to you is, how are you doing with that? Can you give yourself a score out of 10 if you're doing very well? It can be 2 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, or even that you say, yeah, I'm doing very well with that. So that's number 1. Step number 2 is a step which I call let go of emotional eating, if we talk about food. And then many people come to me and then they ask, but what do I do? I have so many cravings. I don't know if you experience that yourself, cravings. Might be interesting to see some hands rising to me. No one? Oh, yeah, oh, great. And thank you for your honesty. And cravings we can address in 2 ways. I think cravings we can look at, and if we had more time, I would love to explore that with you more in depth. But it could be that we eat in an unbalanced way. If we are attracted to eat strong yang foods like eggs and dry foods and toast and pizza, then naturally we're very drawn to much more yin stuff and cold things and sugar and alcohol and juices to make that balance. So then cravings arise from an unbalanced way of cooking and feeding ourselves. And I'm sure you all studied more in depth how we make that balance in the food with yin and yang and the energetics of food. But today I want to look a little bit more deeper into what about cravings that don't arise from an unbalanced way of eating, because we can eat in a quite balanced way and still discover we have a lot of cravings. And then my experience is that lots of people start eating because they want to fill up a void. They want to fill a hole that is there deep down in themselves. Do you have an idea why we do that? No one?
From childhood experiences, from being fed when we're unhappy.
Thank you, Clara. I think that's very good. Yeah, that's my experience too. When, for instance, our mother solved the problem with candy when we had a problem, then that's the trend setting. That we learned how to do that in a certain way. That food is filling up that hole and is our comfort instead of the love we needed. So I think that's a very, very good point. So we learn to deal with our emotions in a way that was not fulfilling the need we had on that certain occasion, definitely. So the question is, how can we become in touch deeply with our real needs, what the body really needs? And sometimes it's very easy to do that. If we're hungry, we eat, and if we're thirsty, we drink. For some people, it's difficult. For some people, it's quite easy. But somehow what I see is when people become tired, what do they start doing? They drink coffee. So that's not fulfilling the real needs. Instead of looking at being, what is that need of being tired and how can I give my body more rest, we overrule that. And that's someone is saying something here, that's eating down the emotion. Definitely, that's it's like we numb ourselves not to feel what is underneath, or more so, if we feel lonely, then we create the habit of drinking a glass of wine and we think we won't feel the loneliness anymore. So that's how often it starts from childhood onwards, our education. And because we don't want to feel the pain deep down about our feelings, we start using food and candy and alcohol and all kinds of cravings, not to feel the emotion and to numb ourselves and to numb our body. It fills up a certain hole, but doesn't give the deep satisfaction we really need. So I think there can be a bit of a reflection. How often do we do that? And what is my real need? Sometimes I do the exercise with clients. If it's about chocolate, please put the chocolate down in front of you and make a little conversation with the chocolate. What is the chocolate telling you? What is the story you have and the relationship with the chocolate? And don't eat it, but just start writing in a journal, what are your feelings about it and what do you really need instead of that chocolate, to feel more out what it is about. If we stop the cravings, then often a lot of feelings and emotions will come up, and more we become closer to our real needs. And because the question was this there a little while ago, what is happiness? Happiness to me is one definition could be if we are at the possibility of feeling deep down all the needs we have on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level, and be able or live the life we want to fulfill as much as we can those needs. And then more and more we become happy. I don't know if you agree with that. Yeah. And that needs on a regular basis some reflection and some changes in directions in life on the whole. So that process of reflection, being in touch with what are my real needs and what is needed for me to live that life that I can fulfill those needs. And surprisingly enough, the more you do that, or I have been seeing that over time, surprisingly enough, cravings will go more and more. So that's a bit my question to you again. What's your score here? How are you doing? If you give yourself some points out of 10, how are you doing with that? Are you eating when you're hungry, drinking when you're thirsty, sleeping when you're tired, and able to give yourself love when you're lonely? But it's on all levels in life. How do you do with the connection with your body, with your health? Are you satisfied with your work you're doing, with your relationship, with your sexuality, with your family, with your social life, with the me time, with your emotional body, with the knowledge, the study? You can get in with the place where you live, financially, with your spiritual practice. All those areas in life need to be addressed to feel those deeper needs. And then what do you do with that? So you can make a little bit of distinction and say, oh, with my health or with my spiritual practice or with my social life, I'm doing very, very well. But I have issues with this and that and that and that. So that could be the reflection to take away. How are you doing on this level, and how many points do you give yourself out of 10 for my step 2? I will be interested to see how your score is at the end of this presentation. Gretchen, saying 3 points. Okay, thank you. Thank you. The question at the bottom is, what do I need to make a change there? What do I need? And even a more deeper question could be, what is blocking me about that question? What is blocking me about not being able to fulfill my needs? Could be a more interesting question. And I hope after this presentation, the people who are close, or you live close, or you see each other frequently, you can discuss that or start talking about that or make a little group about those things. So you can help each other out in how can we start doing that and fulfill our needs. Step 3. I think an important step to healing to all of us, otherwise we wouldn't be here, is food. Yeah. How do we eat and what do we eat? So there's different areas for me in becoming closer to our authentic self and to healing. So that was about a rhythm, it's about emotional healing, but it's also about what do I eat? And I think you're all lucky there to have Jeanette and Sheldon around you to study that subject in depth. So I don't want to go into that in depth, but just address it. And I think you have a good center around to study that more in depth. So the principles of living close to and with nature are very important to that. We want to have real food, organic food, local food, sugar-free food, very important, whole foods. And we try to avoid sugar as much as we can, especially refined sugar, and avoid animal foods because that gives a lot of stagnation in the body, except of some fish perhaps if we need it. And if we start studying more in depth, then we start to know ourselves more and more. We start to know our constitution. We start to know our condition. We are unique beings. And what is good for one is not so good for the other. So the more you start study macrobiotics, yin and yang, 5 transformations, Eastern diagnosis, you will understand yourself more and more in depth. What do you need? And then you can create food that is healing for yourself. What kind of whole grain do I need most, and in what form do I need it, pressure cooked or not, or in a salad? What kind of pulses do I need for my kidneys, for instance, or for my heart? What kind of vegetables and then what kind of cooking styles do I need them most? What kind of sea vegetables, seasonings, oils, seeds, fruits, nuts, fish. So that's a bit the range and the variety of what is on your daily plate, 2 or 3 times a day, with spaces in between. Okay? And then the thing is, eat when we are hungry and we drink when we are thirsty. So that's my 3rd step. Food. So again, we can start looking at how do we do with that? What is my score out of 10 in my daily habits? Oh, someone saying I have a 9 out of 10. Well done. Well done. Yeah. On the other hand, if your score is 2 or 3, you have so many possibilities to grow and to learn and to evolve. So that's very well. If you only have like 20% in this presentation, then wow, a new world can open to you. So that's very good too. You see what I mean? And that can be an adventure to step into. Very interesting. Again, underneath is the question, what is blocking me to make that step to cook well every day for myself? What is blocking me? Do I lack the money? Is my health not well enough? Do I not have support from a partner? Perhaps my energy is not well enough to do that, or is it more on an emotional level? So we start to feel out, I need a little bit to know what is the blockage underneath. Why can I not look after myself very well? What is the cause of that? And the most important question, what changes do I need to make a step forward with this step? Important for me is we don't have to do it 100% well. That's very important. Be very mild to yourself. I've seen, if I work with clients over the last 40 years, that if we take like general steps and we integrate this step and we allow feelings to come up and we make another step, we make at the end a faster progression than when we come from the counselor and we say, wow, I do tabula rasa. Yes, I changed my life like this today. And then often that's not working. Do you know that feeling? Because often people start making changes with the food out of pressure, out of anxiety, out of for the wrong reasons. And then that gives much more pressure. It's like being in the pressure cooker. You become way too young to do it. And then you do it for 3 days or 3 weeks, or all of a sudden you find yourself walking down the street and you buy a whole pie and eat 3 pineapples and drink 2 beers afterwards, and then you feel guilty. I don't know if you know that feeling. I exaggerate a bit, yeah. But when things become too young, it's not only about food, it's about being in the pressure cooker, and there is lots of pressure about finances, about things you have to do. Then we are much more attracted to lots of yin things that are relaxing us. So if we do things gradually, then we make ourselves not so young, and we can look at ourselves much more with mildness, with generosity, with compassion. And then often there's a kind of a key to success, to healing and make more deeper changes. I don't want to generalize that. I started into macrobiotics not step by step. One day I came home from a lecture and I started my life, started eating miso soup and brown rice, that was it. Yeah. And then sometimes in life that's necessary, and I could do that. There was a front and a back to it, like it always is. Yeah, I lost a lot of weight, and at a certain point I was like 36 kilograms, and then I didn't want to look at the scale anymore. So there was a big front and a big back, but 4 months later I felt much better, although I was looking very thin, and my mother was very concerned at that time. You see what I mean? So for some people that can work, but for a lot of the people, the STEP program works better. So how are you doing with step 3?
I want to encourage all our friends listening to open the video so we can see each other, because most of us have just a black box, just a square. So turn on your video and we can see each other and interact if you want.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you. Step 4, community. Thank you for opening the video. That makes community. Step 4. Yeah. Community. I think community is very, very important. If we walk this path of change and healing on ourselves, it will be much more difficult than if we have support. I don't know if you experience that yourself. Community. And I think we live in great times to have community. Of course, it's very nice to have a supportive partner and a supportive family. That's community. And supportive neighbors and friends. But also the social media is a kind of community. So we can use that like we are using it today. We see each other, we can interact, we can talk to each other, and we can have support. 40 years ago, when I started with Macrobiotics, we did not have community at all. Have to search the 5 books there were on Macrobiotics, yeah. And sometimes if I met someone in the class and we could have a fun conversation, yes, and the children were small and they all had measles and whooping cough and we didn't know what to do. So we experienced with compresses. Sometimes I was in a shake like this. But now there are so many possibilities of community. Please use community. Please make buddies. I think it's so important to make progression in your healing. If you have a buddy or a very good friend, you can share all your fears, anxiety, your experiences with, and then the journey will be much more easy. This forum, I believe this is fantastic as a kind of community and inspiration. So we should do much more of those things to help each other out, making progress and making steps. So don't make it a lonely journey for yourself. Even if you have buddies, you can cook for each other. If you live close and help each other out, or do potluck supper evenings, or whatever can come up, it can be really important to do that. So a companion, a partner, a mate, a community, very, very important to join and to share.
I have a friend that we decided on a menu. We cooked the same meal and then we ate together on Skype or Zoom.
How fantastic. How fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think together we will make the change. It's not an individual process. Of course it is, in terms of emotional healing and physical healing, but it's also a process of being together. So how are you doing with that? On Facebook, I have been making some groups. One group is Macro Life. You're very happy to join that. So we can share things on that. We can ask questions. Very important. So how are you doing with community, with support? Are you living your isolated life, or are you opening up and join the club? And what is blocking you in doing that? Is that a scary thing for you? What emotions are underneath? If you feel like, wow, that sounds scary, or that's difficult for me to do that. So it's good to look into that. So you can give yourself your score in step 4, community. Also, sometimes it's helped to make a little bit community yourself, to make a little community where you live or around you. That can help to open up your kitchen and your living room and invite people and cook a meal for them. It's making community and share and talk about life and walk that journey together. Step 5 in healing. You're almost there. Movement. Movement. Perhaps by eating a more vegan or macrobiotic diet, you noticed over time that your body becomes more flexible. Isn't it? Becomes more flexible. And your condition can get better. But I think movement is important as well. And you have to choose that kind of movement that that belongs to you. Sometimes people, I hear them saying, "Oh, I'm running every day, but I hate it. It's because it's good for me." And I think, what the hell are you doing? You do something you don't like. So you have to find something you really like, even if it's switching on your music in the morning and go for a dance in your kitchen. That's good movement. You don't have to pay for that if you hate running. So you will see the longer you eat a vegan diet, the less necessary it will be for your body to do hard physical work. Because we don't have that excess anymore, we don't have to go for a run for 10 or 20 miles. That's not so necessary. But a gentle walk with the dog every day for 20 minutes, 30 minutes can be very nice and very healing. Or jumping up and down on your trampoline. Is that an English word? Jumping the trampoline is an English word, yeah, up and down, or whatever you like. And also it's knowing your condition. If this area about the chest is stiff and it doesn't move well, then you can start doing ping pong or tennis. Rebounder, thank you, Gretchen. Rebounder, yeah. Tennis or ping pong, if you like that, can be very opening, and sometimes it's good to play the game with too, because then you cannot be in the mind. Some people go for walks and they think all the time and say, oh, it's healthy for me, another 5 minutes, another 10 minutes, another, ooh, done that. Yeah, but I've been in my mind all the time. So if you play a game of volleyball or football or ping pong or tennis, you get out of your mind. For some people, gardening is great and they find peace in that. They connect with their higher self and the higher force of the universe. So you have to find for yourself, what is my kind of practice? Is it cycling? Is it dancing? Whatever it is. That brings you joy. It's something to look forward to. It's like, oh, that's me time. And my body moves and I feel good after that. Can be your yoga. Also in the yoga, find your way of yoga. For some people, it's a stanga of vinyasa yoga, but for other people, it's a kind of restorative or yin yoga. So feel your body out. What do I need? Where do I make myself happy with? So that kind of movement, it could be a little bit doing or a little bit of stretching in the morning, and that will change your day. It's a kind of, in the morning, wake up in a different way. In my next step, I will talk about that as well. And if you do a little bit of that doing, a little bit of stretch, a little bit of a walk, or walk on your grass outside, it changes your day. You seen that? Thank you. Someone is saying awesome. Chair yoga can be really helpful. Movement to me is also breathing. I've seen people who were lying in bed and say, I can't do any moving. I'm that ill. And I said, yes, you can. We will start learning how to breathe deeply in different ways. Chakra breathing, deep breathing, and that make a movement. Movement could be getting massage, movement of the body for people who are not flexible or are really ill. There's always a way out to move that body. Starting with breathing, very important. So that's the movement on different levels. How are we doing with movement? Good, 8 out of 10, someone says. Yeah, good. Yeah. Or is this an area for you to look at and say, I hate movement. Oh boy, that's not nice. Yeah. So if you hate that movement, some people have like a neighbor and say, please come and ring at my bell and take me out for a walk 3 times a week. So we do this together. So that community can be very helpful if it's difficult for you. I see some people buying a pet or a dog and say, thank God I have a dog, I can go for a walk. Otherwise I never get there. So whatever it takes you, there is always a way out to make a little bit of a change. You have to find the solution for yourself. So to make that change. So how are you doing with that? And what is blocking you? Very important question. What is blocking you not doing the exercise, not having your practice, not having enough movement? Could be you're addicted to your work. That's a possibility. So you don't get out. And what needs change? What needed change in your life and in yourself to make that change? Wow, very nice. Someone saying movement 8, 9 out of 10. Wow, community 5, 6. Yeah, very good. Let's look at the last step. And step where we will give ourselves a score on 50 points, the biggest one. So your score for step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is on 10 points. This one is on 50 points. Yeah. So that will tip it all. Yeah. And it's a step in which I call gratitude. And gratitude, for me, it includes meditation, spiritual practice, gratitude. It takes slowing down in life to do that, slowing down. So that's where we can make a change or a challenge for the coming next 2 weeks. Start to wake up in a different mode. When you wake up and you open your eyes, instead of getting out of the bed, start to meditate. Start to feel your gratitude. A new day is given to me. I'm alive. I'm counting all my blessings. You ever tried that? Do it for 10 days, 2 weeks, every single day. Sit straight in your bed, say, thank you very much. A new day is given. Thank you very much. I'm alive. I'm counting all my blessings. Thank the universe. And you start feeling your gratitude. And then you can get in some meditation or into your spiritual practice, whatever that is for you. And let go of all your thoughts. No to-do list in the morning. Some people give all their energy away by thinking, lying in bed. And I will do this and that and that, and my to-do list is this and that and that. And they get up thinking, oh my boy, it's like they worked already for 4 or 5 hours. You see what I mean? So we try not to do that, but to get up very slowly, to feel your gratitude, to make a little bit of a prayer or make a connection with that bigger force that is holding you, with the universe. And we're letting go of all thoughts and all justice and our to-do list. If you can do this practice more than once a day, even better. Yes, Susan, 50 points. We do on 50 points. Yeah. So if you can do like 2 or 3 times a day, a little moment, even when you're driving in your car, and say, thank you very much, I can drive this car, how wonderful, how wonderful. It's bringing me there. Thank you very much for cooking my food. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for ironing my laundry, for bringing me a cup of tea. Every single thing in the day, feel the gratitude. Thank you very much for loving me. Thank you all very much for being here today. Thank you. Yeah, wonderful. So thank you very much for life, for being a mother, a brother, And it could be very nice today, after this presentation, go out, buy some nice cards, and write a card to your beloved ones. Can you do that? All the people who are very important in your life. You write a card to and say, thank you very much for being in my life. You're such a wonderful friend. You're such a fantastic mother to me. You're such a beautiful sister. You're my soulmate. Thank you very much. So express your gratitude in that way. Sometimes you forget about that. Someone saying, Neshama Judaism has a daily prayer upon waking called Modeh Ani, do I call it right? For gratitude for waking up. How wonderful. I need to get into Judaism. Yeah. Wow. We teach it to our children and still say it with our grandchildren. Wow, wow. In Christianity, we used to have that much more. We pray together at the table. Thank you very much for Mother Earth who's giving that nice food every day. People lost this. And I found as a sad story. We lost that kind of praying in whatever religion it is. It's like, thank you for the bigger force that is helping us in this life and guiding us. Very nice. So it's also finding a way of connecting to your higher self and to that bigger force that holds you, that guides you. And you can express that in making a little altar for yourself. That can be important, to find that little place in your home where you're drawn to, you can sit and make peace. So that's why I give it so much points, because I think it will bring you balance. Every time we pray and we put our hands together, it's like yin and yang coming together and gives peace inside. You see what I mean? It's the same in our foods. It's like the grains and the vegetables and everything. There's yin and yang coming inside. There's yin and yang coming towards us, making balance. So I found it's quite important. So how are you doing with that one? What's your score? How many points on 50 is your score? Be honest with yourself. In meditation, spiritual practice, and gratitude, which I call it. Very soon, I will run this program, but much more in depth over several weeks in six steps to healing on Zoom. So if people are interested, you're very, very welcome to join. That's a longer program. So I'm quite interested, and we have still quite a bit of time, don't we, Jeanette? Still have a bit of time? I don't hear you, Jeanette, sorry, you're on mute.
In what language will this course be? And yes, you have another 10 minutes.
In English, Yeah, I do it in English. Or in the best English I can speak. Okay.
Oh my God, your English is excellent. Right?
Good, thank you. Yeah, thank you, that's good. So it would be interesting for the people who want to share the score. What's your score? You don't have to share it, but you can share it if you want to. But also important with the score is, what do you take with you from this presentation? Is there something that needs a little bit reflection or attention to make another step for healing for yourself? It could be it's very confronting for yourself as well. That's a possibility as well.
My score is 75. And
wow.
I don't know. Where I fall down, I think, is as much as I want to eat, I have a strong intention, and it doesn't always work out. My husband is cooking breakfast, and so it doesn't always happen on time. This kind of thing. Emotional eating, I'm good. how and what I eat, I'm good. Community, I'm good. Movement, I'm good. And appreciation, I do my best.
That's the only thing we can do, our best. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Jeanette.
You said a couple times 2 or 3 meals. What determines 2? What determines 3? What?
I think it's important to look at our constitution. If you're female or male, if we are in our younger years or childbearing years, pregnancy, breastfeeding, people, builders who work very hard, I think they eat much more and have bigger portions. After
So
menopause, yeah,
as you age, you need less? Is that a correct
think so.
interpretation?
I think so. I don't know if that's your experience, but that's my experience.
I'm playing with it, and I haven't gotten an answer to myself yet.
Yeah. It's often what I see. My parents are in their 90s, and I see them over time eating less and less and less. And I see my experience is as the body age and becoming older, they're coming in their 90s, their spirit grows. Yeah, the gratitude grows. Yeah, they're becoming wiser. I think that's the natural way of living, and the body shrinks down. And at the end, there is hardly any body anymore, but it's all spirit. Yeah, and I think natural way of living. In our modern society, I see people in homes, and they do the reverse. They start to feed the people extreme excesses of animal food and sugary food and too much food, and then they develop kind of dementia, and the spirit declines. And I think that's the reverse of what it should be. If you look in the East, when people come and they rule or they govern a country, they often in their 70s or 80s, because they had the experience of a whole lifetime, and they become much more compassionate at that age normally, and they have bigger wisdom. And I think if we don't eat animal foods and we eat a plant-based diet on the whole, then that's how the evolution of people is. It's by start eating animal foods that when a cow start eating dried powder, which is animal food, they eat themselves and they get mad cow disease. So I think the same stuff starts for people, for us as human beings. The closer we eat towards what we are ourselves, animal food, then I think things are going wrong in that direction. Perhaps you studied that as well before, that, was it Mitchell who said, in your lifetime, you're eating 1 egg. That's with conception.
But I thought, I thought the old macrobiotic books had more meat, chicken, in the recipes.
Yeah.
It's just because macrobiotics has changed, or?
And also it is, I think when I started with macrobiotics, that's perhaps when you started with macrobiotics or even earlier, we were quite strict.
Yeah.
There was the do and the don't. Yeah, there was a kind of judgment around that. And I think for many women, we starved ourselves way too much, and were not mild enough or didn't have the insights and the support to how to make rich, nice plant-based food with a little bit of animal food in soups and things like that. And somehow if we do that like for 40, 50 years, then the body starts yearning for a little bit of animal food. That's the feeling I guess. I get. I don't know if you agree with that, but yeah. Okay. So I don't know, at the end of my presentation, thank you very much for listening to me and for being there. But I want to make 5 minutes or a little bit more for questions. So if there are more questions.
Anybody? This is your chance. And I'd like to welcome Tom Monty. I see he just joined us. He'll be our next speaker right at the top of the hour. Questions for this wonderful presentation? Anybody? Clara?
Me? Okay, I'm going to ask this of everybody. How important is muscle mass in our bodies? How important is it to do the kind of exercise that, yes, that increases muscles?
How important are muscles? That's your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you said just to do an exercise you enjoy, but is there supposed to be an outcome of what we're doing? Is there a goal?
I think for me, there is not a goal in terms of muscles. There is a goal in terms of if we're physical active, I think it helps the body on the whole in making the circulation flow and breathing much more deeply, and that helps us to our overall health.
My question is concerning older women who fall and then their bone density isn't strong enough because they haven't been exercising whatever needs to be for the bone density.
Yeah, I think that's important for the bone density, but I think if we fall at our older age and we suffer with osteoporosis, it doesn't only have to do with exercise. I think exercise is one part, but I think food is another part in that, plays another role in that. Yeah, I think it's a combination of things.
Thank you.
I see.
I have a question. Is it okay if I ask?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay. So I dabble with, I really enjoy your presentation very much. I've been the one that's been putting a lot of the chats on about the gratitude. But I wanted to know, I took a hypoglycemic test, for blood glucose years ago, and I found that I was sort of on the border. And I wanted to know if that means that I should be eating possibly more often. And I find that I do start to get like a little headachy or shaky, or my mind isn't as clear. And I clearly, but I don't know, I've been eating healthily all my life, not necessarily macrobiotic, but I do enjoy macrobiotic. And I'm from Boston, and I remember going to the Kushi Institute and going to the restaurants, and, the early ones, Sanai, and, they were wonderful. And I do love miso soup, but I mostly have it in the winter. And here, now I live in Israel, and it's so hot in the summer that I find that I need cooling things. So I sort of, at night, sometimes I just get hungry. I don't know what to eat at night anymore. I sort of lost the ability to make good choices. And I don't know. So I wanted to know, if I do get hungry before I go to sleep, I know you said not to eat too late, but what's a good light thing to have that would be healing and would sort of sit well with you, especially if you tend towards hypoglycemia?
Yeah, I think that's an important question, because when I was speaking about how we eat or how often do we eat, then that's a general thing for people that in good health. So definitely, if you suffer hypoglycemia, it means that the pancreas becomes a little bit too tight, or the middle zone or the solar plexus become a little bit too young. And then it's good to adding more yin. Yin means, for instance, it could mean eating a little bit more frequently. So if you're eating like small portions 5 times a day, that can be very helpful. Yeah.
Okay, so still,
that could be your meals, but you're dividing it in carbohydrates and vegetables, grains and vegetables, or a soup, or you make small portions and you divide your food and you chew it well. Yeah, that will be helpful. Also, sweet vegetable drink. I don't know if you know, sweet vegetable drink can be really helpful in your case.
Okay, I'll look it up. Is it on your website?
I'm not sure. I'm not so good with websites.
Okay. Oh, I'll
But
look on your Facebook page.
yeah,
maybe.
sweet vegetable drink can be, you can have like 5 times a day, a little shot like that to relax and open up the middle zone if you feel you have cravings, or like hot carrot juice can be very, very good. And you can have sips of that to open up that whole zone. Can be helpful with hypoglycemia. You can do it for a month every day. If you
Did
have
you say carrot juice, excuse me, or
carrot,
carob?
fresh carrot juice. You
Carrot.
heat it up. You heat it up, yeah. And you even can add a little bit of kuzu to it, or you can add your favorite flavor, a bit of cinnamon. Cinnamon is very good for the pancreas as well. So, and you can have that warm, that relaxes the middle zone, your solar plexus.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Was that your question, Ishama, on the chat? I
Yes.
didn't read it through. Oh, that's your question. Yeah.
Well, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
So thank you very much. So for the people, you definitely can have a look at. Although I'm living in Belgium, we have a Dutch website here in Belgium, but you can look at the macroschool.co.uk as well. For people who wants to reach me or send me an email, you can email me on, shall I show that like this? Or don't you see that? That's a Dutch email address. I can send it to Jeanette. It's the.meridian@gmail.com. Okay.
Well, it remains for me only to give you my great thanks. Marijke, you're really lovely and gave from your heart. It was such a beautiful presentation. And I certainly enjoyed it very much. I really appreciate you and your talk.